Well, here we are with video number 2. And since number 1, I did find provision in the instructions for what to do, so that you end up with your brass tube sticking out like that. Now, what they said was, and by the way, I'm beginning to think now that the person who wrote the instructions did turn this pen and came to the problem that I had at the end of video 1, and he thought to himself, now what do I do? So what he said is you stop your lathe and you measure 1 7/8 inches from the end here, and then with a parting tool just cut down until you get to the brass tube. Well, I can see doing that if I had a precision metal lathe or something, but I sure wouldn't want to try it on a wood lathe. It's just not that true. And you're going to end up cutting into the brass tube and making it too small. So I think doing it my way is a lot better. What I did was I just glued it up and left the brass tube sticking out 1/4 inch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bushing on. Oh, and that begs another question. Why have the bushing then? You know, if you're going to cut it down afterwards, well, it's still on the lathe. You can't get the bushing on. It's already turned down. So anyway, now I'm going to put the bushing on and turn this whole thing down, get down to the bushing, and it'll be done. I think my way is a lot better and a lot safer. Not going to ruin your brass tube with the parting tool, which I can almost guarantee you will. Unless, like I say, you have a precision metal lathe. I'd like to get one, by the way. Anyhow, let's keep going here and see if we can assemble this pen and see what happens. It could be I'm going to have a big apology to make here at the end, because it might be a real good reason why my way isn't any good, but I think it is. Let's keep going. Now, my barrel trimmer does not have a bit that fits this. I either have one that's too big, or like this one is too small. However, this one will fit exactly the smaller brass tube, and the smaller brass tube will fit exactly into the bigger one. So in that way, what I can do is, if I'm careful, I can do it like this, and this should work. And in fact, I know it'll work. I just happen to have a block of wood with a hole in it the right size. If you don't have one, you just make one. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Well, now here you can see the blank that I made up in video number 1. It's 1/4 inch longer than the one that I just made up now, that the brass tube is sticking out of. So what I do now is I just turn this piece down until it gets to this bushing, which is the same size exactly as this one. Now what I would be doing if I did it the way the instructions want me to do it is I would be turning this blank down until I got to this bushing, then using the parting tool to remove this piece right here so that the brass tube would be exposed. Now, to me that doesn't make any sense. I may as well make this the right length and have the brass tube exposed the first time and get it over with. After all, I have to, glue a brass tube into a blank anyway. Why not do it right the first time? And at least that's the way I'm looking at it. Well, I was thinking I must have missed something. So I got out the instructions again. And it clearly states, after sanding, stop the lathe, and then measure 1 7/8 of an inch from the cap clip end. Well, that's exactly what I ended up with doing it my way. Exactly 1 7/8 inch. And then it says use a sharp parting tool. Cut a groove all the way to the brass tube. Well, this does not make sense to me. Anyway, using the extra bushing and doing it the way I believe it was meant to be done works really well. I've beat this to death. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So I'm just going to continue on here. Turn the second pen and put it together. I got a feeling it's going to look really nice. Okay, I admit it. I couldn't wait to see what it was going to look like, so I pressed it together. Now I'll turn the second one down. But because I'm going to be doing it exactly the same way as the first one, I'm not going to bore you and make you watch me do it. Well, as promised, I didn't make you watch me turn this down. But I did it exactly the same way as this one. And it looks pretty much the same. I can see little subtle differences, but most people probably wouldn't notice. Now, the only difference is when you put it together, instead of putting in the ink refill, you put in the mechanical pencil. And I've never turned on one like this before. This has this separate little transmission here that will also do the refill as well as the mechanical pencil. Now the other kit that I've done that was a mechanical pencil, it had a mechanism like this, and it was all in one. It didn't have a separate transmission. Okay, let's put it together. I guess I should really put this in first. There. It's hard to do when I got a camera right in front of my face. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, now let's see if this will work. It should, when I ratchet this back and forth, it should make the lead come out. Yeah, and it does. Okay, let's press it together and see if it'll work. And we'll try and get the grain to line up here nice. That looks good. There we are. Yeah, it looks okay. And let's see if it'll work. Voila! It works. Put them both together. And I got an extra ink cartridge too. And I've got an extra spring. I didn't need the spring in this one. Okay. That looks all right. Well, you know, I wouldn't mind receiving that as a gift myself. That is really nice, especially if you like wood. Now, you want to remember though, if you're going to turn this kit down, use that 5th bushing. You'll have a lot better results. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't try it the other way, but I don't think I need to. I know it wouldn't work as well. That 5th bushing is there for a reason, so use it. And thank you for watching.